Sex and Sensuality, the podcast, where we speak what your dirty mind thinks. We are here every Monday night at 9 p.m. chatting about tantalizing topics that most won't dare say aloud. Hello, and welcome to Sex and Sensuality, the podcast, where we speak what your dirty mind thinks. We are here every Monday night, guys, at 9 p.m. I don't know why I always want to say 10 p.m., but anyway, we're here at 9 p.m. We are on all major streaming networks, and we want you all to subscribe. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think we're even on SoundCloud. We are on Google Podcasts. I mean, anyone that you could think of right now, we are on it. We want you to join. And then started in the second week of October, we will start doing our lives on Tuesday nights. So we definitely want you to join there. And you can follow us on the YouTube page where you will be able to see those lives after the fact. So, all righty. Hey, my little co-host, Gigi.
Hey, honey.
I am good. I am well, y'all. I am Miss Mika Nicole. I am a bit tired tonight because we took my daughter today to this indoor playground with her friends. So she just got to play around. Then after we did that, we went out to eat and they just really enjoyed themselves today. So I'm a bit on the tired side with this 5-month pregnant belly being out and about. So, but we're going to have a great show tonight. Gigi, how are you doing?
I am good. This week I went and traveled down south to give honor to my stepdad who passed.
Yes. Oh, my condolences again. How was it?
It was actually good to see his daughters that I've known for over 30 years. I haven't seen them in probably 20. So it was all of us to catch up and see each other. Of course, we always say the same things, bad to see under these circumstances. But it turned out to be really nice to hear people talk about Les and say such wonderful things about him. He was such a great guy, and I'm definitely better for knowing him.
I love that. Oh, well, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And I'm happy to hear that y'all were able to honor him in a good way.
Yes.
And sometimes that's what it's about, getting through the funeral, getting through the memorial service, all of that in good spirits, knowing that, hey, we're laying him down to rest in style, in good memory, honoring him. So that's awesome.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so tonight we have a few things to talk about, but our topic is May-December relationships. And Gigi was like, girl, what is May-December relationships?
I know what that means.
You know what? I wonder if that is a Southern terminology. I don't know. But anyway, it is a May-December relationship is just a relationship with a significant age gap. So like Celine Dion and her husband, they were significantly apart. I think they were like 20, 30 years apart, maybe a little bit more. Because she was 16, I think, when he first met her as I think he was her manager, producer, or something. And then when she became of age at 18, they started dating and they got married. I think she was in her 20s. And he died in 2016. He was born in 1942. They had a 21-year marriage. There was a 26-year age gap between them.
Wow.
Yeah. They got married in 1994, renewed their vows in 2000. They welcomed 3 children, and he lost his battle with cancer in 2016. Oh, but she loved that man, and that man loved her. But anyway, so we're going to talk about that tonight. And then, of course, we have our juicy topic, and we have our political news of the night. So let me just go ahead and let Gigi kick that off because I am excited about that, honestly.
All right. So here we go. We are Gigi's Politics, honey. So this popped up on my thread and I was like, because I always have something to talk about for the politics.
Yes, girl.
But I thought that this was quite interesting. A New York judge rules in favor of polyamorous relationships. I was like, what?
Yes. Yes. I love that. Anything you want to say before I jump in? Because I was going to say something, but anything you want to say first? 'Cause girl, I
Okay,
love it.
so this happened because of so Oberfeld and Hodges, about the gays and lesbians in New York, right? So this was based on two men who were in a relationship with another guy, and he lived in with them in apartments in Manhattan. When the main guy died,
Mm.
the apartment people wanted the other guy to leave because his name was not on the lease.
Oh my goodness.
And so they took the landlord, to court to say, listen, we've been in a relationship together, the three of us, all these years. There was nowhere for us to put another person on the lease. And we didn't feel like there was a need, he was just here. So the judge ruled that just because it's more than two does not negate that this was a relationship or that they shared in a partnership, the three of them. And he stood on that that this guy was able to get on the lease, that they had to add him to that lease as well. So it's not as big as Supreme Court, but New York, guess they won on that one.
Well, you know what? To be honest, there are a few places, Massachusetts, I believe it is, and a place, I think it's Newfoundland in Canada. They have ruled polyamorous relationships as legal. And it stands on the grounds because two guys, one of the three guys, they wanted to be the legal parents of a child that they adopted. I think one part, the couple adopted them, but the other guy came into the relationship, but they wanted. So they were ruled to be the three parents of that child, the three legal parents of that child, which I think is awesome. And then there was another case where a female couple went through the same thing. No, a male woman and another girl. They went through the same thing. And I think that was in California, and they ruled that as legal. But the thing is, because I teach other therapists how to work with couples who are poly, because I don't know, all of a sudden, due to COVID, I started to get a lot of poly couples. They just came out of nowhere. I'm like, where are y'all coming from? But all of a sudden, I've had to become an expert in it. So I've read a lot of books. I've been just working with a lot of couples, trying to help them navigate their relationships and some of the communication issues and the boundary issues that come about, because there's so many things that can happen, right? But anyway, when you think about it, though, the legalities of it make sense. Just like same-sex relationships, you need to have some legal rights. And that's the same thing with poly. You want to give them some type of legal rights in what it is that they're doing, because I think at the end of the day, who can't use more love? It doesn't work for everyone. I'm not saying this a thing that, all of a sudden we need to all be poly. However, when you think about it, if three people fall in love with each other, they just fall in love with each other. Who cares? It's not about nobody's business but theirs. And why not afford them some type of legal protection when it comes to like medical benefits for the jobs and housing rights, like you said with this particular case? Why not? They are a couple. Acknowledge that couples they don't have to be two people.
And that's what they said in that when I was reading the article. If you have two people, a man and a woman, that separate or get divorced, and then they get with somebody else, isn't that two separate couples raising children? Isn't that four people together still raising?
That's four people. Yeah.
That's what they said. That's exactly what they said. They tried to compare it to. It's still a family of more than two.
It's still a family of more than two people. You're right. You're right. So it's like, let's give them something. The same thing when you think about, a lot of people had the big thing about same-sex relationships and stuff like that. But I mean, same-sex parents raising a child, I'm like, but we do this all the time. You have grandmothers and mothers raising a child together because they're all living in the same house and they're taking equal responsibility on raising that child. You have sometimes single dads who may have their father living with them, raising. So it happens. It may not happen. The only thing that we're worried about, the problem, quote unquote problem, is who people are having sex with. That's something y'all focused on.
That's
Like
all they
we do
focus
this
on.
stuff all the time. It's just that we're not doing it in a sexual way. And that becomes the issue when you think of
Yeah.
the sex part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, child, let it go. Let people alone. Let people
Get out of my bed. I'm not in yours.
girl, ain't that true? Okay. So our juicy topic of the night is about this lady, y'all. Let me find this story. Oh, yeah. So the story is this lady, she was arrested at a Las Vegas airport. And she tells the officer, it must be because I'm so good looking that y'all are arresting me.
I'm gonna run that one next time, baby. I'm like, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I said people and the audacity, honey. People don't arrest you because you look good, girl. Normally people leave you alone because they think your looks are so, good, they leave you alone. But anyway, she was a 28-year-old woman who was arrested because she was accused of skipping a restaurant tab at the airport. And so she tells them, y'all are arresting me because you have never seen anyone as good looking as me. And y'all are just harassing me. Like, girl.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
she is too full of herself. That is for sure. So I would say, girl, let's go put your good looking stuff over here in this
in this jail cell chair. Right. All by your lonesome. And then she called the officer perverts. Oh, Jesus. So anyway, she was held on $1,000 bail and she goes to court in October. But first off, why are you skipping your check? Who does that anymore? What grown 28-year-old woman is skipping out on their checks? Girl. And especially in the airport, you can't go anywhere. Where you going, girl? If your plane isn't here yet, where are you going? You don't think they gonna find you? Like,
oh my God!
Especially if you think you're as pretty as you are, they gonna find you, honey. So my last girl, people have the audacity. So my last juicy topic, because Chase sent me this right before the show, y'all. So she said she found an article where this man said he was making $300,000 selling foot pics of his feet. So there's an actual website called feetfinder.com that you can go to if you have a foot fetish, because some people do. Some people love them some feet. Let me tell y'all, I can't even look at feet.
I look at my granddaughter. She don't touch her feet. The dog always want to lick her feet. She's like, don't touch your feet, child. She can't stand it.
I don't care if my feet are touched, right? Because, you have to go to the nail salon and you get your pedicures. I don't mind that. That's fine. But as far as me looking at other people's feet, I have this weird, it's weird to me. It's private. It's like, oh my gosh, there's such a private part to me. I don't want to look at your feet.
So what do you do when you're in the nail salon? Cover your eyes.
I just don't look. Girl, I do not look at other people's feet. I just don't look because I'm like, I can't do it.
Oh, and there are really people that like it. I remember when I was younger, I don't know, I was out with some of my girlfriends. We out shopping. We had, summertime. And we were standing somewhere, maybe waiting for the bus or something. This guy, he was like, oh, you had some beautiful feet. I love your toes. Yes, you got. I was like, that's so random.
Oh my goodness, that is random. See, he probably had a foot fetish. People be like, I want to suck your toes. They look so pretty.
I don't like that either.
Good. I don't care if anybody suck my toes. I just don't want to look at nobody else's foot, and I ain't sucking nobody's toe. And I ain't touching. I really don't like touching anyone's foot either. No.
That's funny.
Girl, ain't it? Girl, it's craziness.
Oh boy. I need to go put my feet on there. Maybe I'll get me some money. I'm gonna put my feet on there.
Girl, put your feet on there, girl. It's feetfinder.com. Girl, you never know. You make y'all so many. See, people always trying to figure out ways to make money, honey. It's always a way to make money. Okay.
Let me find out.
Okay, y'all. So let's move on and get to mated summer relationships. So, of course, again, a mated summer relationship is romance between two people with a big age difference. A lot of the times you think of an older man and a younger woman. However, there's a lot of men now, younger men seeking out older women. Why do you think that is, girl?
I think it's always been because let me tell you something. Both my mother at one time and my aunt both dated much younger men.
But yeah, women seek out younger men, right? And a lot of times they're seeking out younger men because they feel like the stamina, sexual stamina is better. They also want to recapture their youth in some sense, right? But then also it keeps them young. It makes them feel good because you think of your age as 50, but you could pull a 30-year-old. You're like, oh yes, I look good. I must really look good. It's a boost of confidence.
But they weren't at that age. At that age, they were only in their 30s. Both of them at the time.
Well, girl, I don't know about that. I'm just saying in general, older women.
And both of these guys went after them.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. So normally it's older women seeking younger men, but now the trend is younger men are now coming after these older women. And they're actually seeking out older women. So I was asking you, why do you think it is now that the tables have turned a little bit and now these younger men are actually seeking out older women?
I don't know, honey, but maybe it has to do with the 50 years old look like they 30 years old now. Maybe
I think that's what it is. I think it's that. I also think it's too, when you think about a lot of these younger women, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I'm just saying if you think about it, I'm just thinking, this is what I'm thinking. Some of these young women are into social media and they are into still partying and they are into like, I want to be an influencer and all this other kind of stuff. And sometimes men look at that, unfortunately, as this woman has no substance. And then they're like looking at an older woman. This older woman has had a career or has a career or is in retirement. She has some financial stability, she has a level of maturity that some of these younger folks don't
have yet, right?
Yeah, they don't have yet because they eventually will get there, but they don't have yet. And it's taken too a lot younger women, it's taking them a lot longer now to get to a place where they want to settle down and actually be in a serious committed relationship and to have kids. Because now they focus on their careers a little bit more or their social media career a little bit more, and they're not really focused. They're focused on having fun, enjoying their lives for a little bit. And then in their 30s and 40s is when they're now seeking to marry, have kids. Because I think I was one of those young women. I was one of those young women that was focused on my career a little bit more of my career, a little bit more having fun. I really wasn't focused on settling down as much. Even though I was in a mated summer relationship, my ex was 22 years older than me, but I had started to work a lot more on my career during our relationship.
Okay.
And I wasn't ready to have kids. Because I was like, well, I'm trying to establish my career. I'm trying to really have a little fun, establish my career, and really kind of meet some of my goals before I bring a child into this world. That's why I'm old as hell now. About to have two kids. I'm 39. I'll be 39 this year in a few months. About to have 2 kids at 39. The oldest is 4. So, I really waited until my 30s, but some of these younger men are looking to settle down sooner than they used to.
Yeah. Now so that's true. That part is true.
Yeah. And now it's like, I'm going to look for an older woman who is ready for that.
That part I think is really true because just yesterday I went to a surprise engagement party for a 23 and 21-year-old. I mean, he put this whole thing together.
Wow.
It was absolutely beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, girl, they ready.
And he's only 23.
And I can't even imagine, girl, at 23 years old. I know. I was really just getting into it because, I ain't have much. I wasn't the typical teenager, right? Like partying, going out. And then when I went to college, I got a little bit into the party, but after college, I was ready to party, honey. I had a job, I was making some money, I was going to the clubs, having me a good old time at 22, 23.
I know. That's why I was like, whoa, okay. I was like, this is what they doing now.
Girl, yes, that's what they doing now, girl. Okay. So some of the things that people tend to think about when they think about a woman dating an older man, what do y'all think they think of? What do you think they think of? I'm talking about y'all like they can answer me. But y'all think about it and you can answer it while we talk. Go ahead, girl.
Well, I know the first thing they're going to think about is sex. That's going to be the first thing.
No, the first thing people think about is this woman is dating this older man because she's a gold digger. They always think that.
A gold digger.
Or she has daddy issues.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Or he's a cradle robber. Those are negative things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the stigmas that come with it. And then now when it comes to the women, though, it's sex. Women dating a younger man, the first thing they think of, she just trying to get some good sex.
But I think about that when I think about the older man with the younger woman.
Why? I'm talking about from the woman's perspective. People look at the woman as the gold digger. They look at the man as the cradle robber.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he must like young girls, you know.
Right.
I let me just tell you this. I can admit that I've had those thoughts too. Like, especially when I was dating the 22-year-old, the one that was 22 years older than me, I was like, oh, she always like younger girls. She always like younger girls. How young is she willing to go? I've thought about that with my current wife. She is 5 years older than me. But she's had exes that were a lot younger than her. Not teenage younger than her. You know what I'm saying? But she had young girls younger than her. And I was like thinking, like, would she date somebody under 18? Like, I don't know why I had that stigma. But it was wrong for me to think like that. But that's what a lot of people think when they think of either the masculine person in a relationship or a man. They're always thinking like that. And I've been guilty of thinking like that, even though I know it's not right. I'm not saying that because I know she would never date anyone under 18. But, and I know my ex would never have dated anyone under 18. But it made me think like, well, how young do you want to go? Like, especially the one that was 22-year age difference. So, and everybody always wonder, why you dating someone so much younger than you? What do y'all have in common? That is a big one.
That's a real big one because the age difference matters. I can look at it as so many different perspectives because, like I said, between my aunt, between my mother being the older with the younger, and then my stepdad, who was 16 years older than my mom. So here it was, he just passed at 83. She's 60 something, right? So there's a very large gap between the two of them. And then me with my oldest son's father was 8 years difference, and I was young. So, and that's the other thing. When you're a lot younger in age and you're dating someone, people really will look at it as predatory, right? Yeah. Because even though I was over 18, well, actually I wasn't, I was 17. He was 23. Technically, that shouldn't even been something. You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't 18 years old yet. But
the legal age of consent is normally 16 in most states.
Right.
Well, but technically, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. But that don't matter to parents. It doesn't matter family and friends. They're looking at, you're not even 18 and they're 20 some years old, right?
Yeah, because you think about like, what would you want with a 17-year-old? You're 23. This person, you've graduated high school. Hell, you should have been a graduated college by that time too. So this girl hasn't even graduated high school in most cases, or on the verge of graduating high school. They still have to go through college and get some experience in college. So you're right. And that's one of the big things. Like they say, like, you don't have like the same memories or the same experiences because you have it by the time you go through it, that person have been out 10, 20 years. They don't have anything in common.
It's
Y'all
true.
can't
It
even
is a
share
big,
things about movies, music.
yeah, it's a big difference, especially the further away the age. It's the life, I always remember watching movies where they would say, oh, you're stealing their life, their youth from them. That's what the parent would always say, right? You're not
Mm-hmm.
allowing them now to live. You've already done these things, and now you're taking that away from them. But do you feel like it's taking that away from them because now they're in a relationship with someone that's already done it, or are they going to be able to see it in a different light, like seeing it through their own eyes and seeing it through their eyes because they've already experienced it? So,
Well, that is something to think about because even when I think about me and my ex, we had a lot in common, but there were a lot that we did not have in common. And there was a lot that I needed to experience in my 20s
mm-hmm,
that she had already experienced. So
mm-hmm,
she didn't understand why I wanted to experience those things or why these things were important to me, like going to hang out with my friends and hang out
right,
with going out for drinks or having happy hour, things like that. Cause she's like, I done did this.
mm-hmm,
So it may not look like you don't understand it about that person, those differences, but it's true. That's just
yeah,
what it is. You just don't understand why it's so important to them when it's not important to you
mm-hmm,
anymore. And even when it comes to just like having not ready for kids. You may not be ready
right,
for kids, but that person in their 40s or 50s, they're ready to settle down. But you're like, oh, well, I'm trying to finish my career or I'm trying to, finish partying. I'm trying to finish enjoying my youth. And you want me to be this little old prim and proper old lady,
mm-hmm,
when I'm not ready to be that.
right.
So
That's
age different. Oh, and you know what? It's so crazy. I didn't think about a lot of those things when I was dating my ex. I was like, I'm good. I'm mature because I am an old soul. I've always been an old soul because I've always been the oldest and I've always been the listening ear for my mom and my grandma, unfortunately. And I was always with them. So
right.
I was like a little old lady. And I felt
Oh,
like
lady.
we would be okay together. But the longer we were together, the more I realized our age difference played a role in
Right.
our relationship. It really, really
Mm-hmm.
did. And we didn't know how to properly navigate those things because we didn't want to be honest that was the issue.
Exactly. And I think that's probably the problem with a lot of people that get in such a large gap of age.
Mhm.
They don't want to because it's like, they're not going to tell me. I already know that that's not the problem. But in a way, there's reality. It's still reality,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Life still goes on and the days are moving weeks and years. So you can't take those back. And no
Yeah.
matter how many years that are between you, it's going to always be those many years between you, whether you
Yeah.
go from being 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, it's still 10 years. So they're 50, now they're 60. You're in a whole different age group. You done
Yeah.
definitely crossed over, right? So,
Yeah. And you got to
it,
think about what comes with age, health issues, low
mm-hmm.
energy, low sex drives, and then you having to navigate those things as the younger person in the relationship. And
Yeah,
now eventually you may become a caregiver
mm-hmm. That's true.
for that
I
person.
I think about my stepdad now a lot because in the last few years, my mother's always been a party person, going to casinos, and she loves to travel. And as my stepdad got older, when they were visiting, all he did was sit on the couch and fall asleep, because now he's in his late 70s, right? But she's in her 50s. So it was a big difference. Her wanting to hang out with her friends and do things where he didn't want to do it as much, And today I
Yeah.
had to remind her, when you get back home, because people are trying to keep her from going home. When you get back home, I want you to remember all the things, the good things that Les did, all of the fun things. He wouldn't want you to remember him in those moments of when he was at his lowest and
Yeah.
weakest, because he was
Yeah.
always that up and going and spirited person. And I think that's what we as the significant other try to do even in those relationships, right? When it's
Yeah.
a large
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Just like you was mentioning the energy levels and the traveling and stuff, that's true because the older person may have a lower energy level. They may
mhm,
want to do low key vacations. They may not want to go on an adventurous vacation where they have to hike or rock climb or, do all this other kind of stuff that you want to do because they just don't have the same energy level as you. They might want to just go on a cruise or go somewhere where they could just sit on the resort. And so you have to be aware of those things and how that can affect your relationship. And I did experience that where we went on a vacation. This is me and my ex, we went on a vacation and she had to tell me, she was like, hey, I can't be doing all this walking around. Like, I'm 50, I'm tired. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And, and I had to recognize that and say, you're right. We have to go and relax a little bit. And then, because she just wasn't that person. So, and that's okay. And I don't fault her for that. I'm like, I just wasn't thinking of that, and I should have been thinking about that, but I wasn't. So, just learning to be, it's just remembering that y'all are at different stages of your life. They may have grown children that they already raised, so they may not want another child, but you want a child. And then they may have been married before and they're like, I don't want to be married again. I just kind of want somebody I could date and be a long-term partner. But you're like, well, marriage to me is important. I want to be married. I want a wedding.
Yeah.
You may have different worldviews and different values. You think about the future. What is this future going to look like? If this person going to eventually be 70 or 80 and you're 40, you got to think about that. But next episode, we got to talk about the positives. Those are all the cons. But I think there are some very good positives, too, of having a maiden civil relationship. Like we talked about Celine Dion and her husband. They were married for 21 years. And they seem to, from everything that was shown to us, have a great relationship. So it's not that it can't work. So we're going to talk about if this is something you're in or something that you're like, oh, this older guy been trying to get me, girl, and you're interested in it, then let's talk about what are the pros and how are we able to help navigate that relationship. But I think it starts with first admitting that our age difference does play a role.
Yes, it does.
It does play a role in the relationship. Yeah. And if we can admit that, then now we can navigate some of the things that come with the age difference. But if we're not admitting it, honey, it's going to be hard to make it work, Shell. Okay, so we'll do part 2 next week. Anything you want to say, Gigi, before we wrap up?
I'm excited about being able to talk about the pros and that because, like you said, people need to know that it can definitely work. Love is love. It shouldn't matter about the age. As long as you both are clear about what it is that you're looking for. And
exactly. As long as you're clear about those expectations, that makes a very big difference. And we'll go into that next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. Yeah. Thank y'all for listening. This was a great discussion.
Yep. Yes, very good.
All righty. We will talk to you all next week, same time, Monday at 9 p.m. This is Sex and Sensuality, the podcast where we speak what your dirty mind thinks. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of